Imagine waking up one morning to find your neighbor casually levitating their morning coffee while reading the newspaper upside down. Magic is real, but here's the kicker: only a handful of people know about it. Welcome to What If Horizons, where we dive into the wildest alternate realities and ask the questions no one else dares to. Today, we're exploring a world where magic exists, but it's the best kept secret in human history. Buckle up, because this is going to be a ride stranger than your uncle's conspiracy theories. Picture this: magic isn't some grand, flashy spectacle like in the movies. No wizards dueling in the streets, no dragons terrorizing the countryside. Instead, it's subtle, almost mundane. That barista who always gets your order right without you saying a word. Yeah, she's not just good at her job, she's reading your mind. The guy who never seems to age at your high school reunions. He's not just blessed with good genes, he's been casting anti-aging spells since the 80s. Magic is everywhere, but it's so well hidden that most of us just chalk it up to coincidence or luck. Now, you might be wondering, how does something as big as magic stay hidden in the age of smartphones and social media? Well, it turns out, the magical community has a knack for staying under the radar. They've got spells for erasing memories, altering digital footprints, and even making people forget they saw something they shouldn't have. It's like the Men in Black, but instead of neuralizers, they use enchanted rubber ducks. Yes, rubber ducks. Don't ask. But here's the thing: not everyone in the know is using their powers for good. Imagine a world where your boss isn't just micromanaging you because they're control freaks, they're literally controlling you. With a flick of their wrist, they can make you work overtime without you even realizing it. And that politician who always seems to get away with scandal after scandal. Let's just say they've got a little magical help in the PR department. It's a world where the phrase, "It's not what you know, it's who you know," takes on a whole new meaning. Of course, not all magic users are out to manipulate the system. Some are just trying to live their lives, blending in with the rest of us. Take, for example, the single parent who uses a little telekinesis to keep their toddler from throwing spaghetti at the walls. Or the college student who enchants their textbooks to absorb the information faster than a sponge in a rainstorm. Magic, in this world, is just another tool, a way to make life a little easier, a little more manageable. But what happens when the secret gets out? What if, one day, someone slips up and the world discovers that magic is real? Would it lead to chaos, with everyone demanding a piece of the magical pie? Or would it create a new kind of hierarchy, where the magical elite rule over the non-magical masses? And what about the rest of us, the ones who don't have a magical bone in our bodies? Would we be left behind, or would we find a way to adapt and thrive in a world where the rules have suddenly changed? These are the questions we'll be exploring in today's episode. So grab your enchanted coffee mug, sit back, and let's dive into a world where magic is real, but only a few know about it. Let's talk about how this secret magic society actually functions. You'd think with great power comes great drama, but most magical folks are surprisingly boring. They've got committees, subcommittees, a whole bureaucratic nightmare of spell regulations and oversight. The International Confederation of Secret Wizards meets every third Wednesday to debate whether turning politicians into actual snakes counts as interference or public service. The real shocker: magic isn't some infinite resource. There are rules, limitations. You can't just wave a wand and solve world hunger. Trust me, they tried in 73. The spell required so much energy it turned an entire Iowa cornfield into sentient taffy that still roams the Midwest to this day. Most magic users carefully hoard their power for small, practical things. The woman who always gets the last parking spot, minor spatial manipulation, your friend who never gets hangovers. That's a liver enchantment passed down through generations of Irish monks. What's fascinating is how they've weaponized human ignorance. The greatest magic trick isn't making buildings disappear, it's making 7 billion people dismiss the impossible right in front of them. When a construction worker survives a 20-story fall, we call it a miracle. When a CEO predicts market crashes with eerie accuracy, we call it insider trading. The magical community counts on our collective ability to rationalize away the extraordinary. Their most powerful spell, the human brain's capacity for denial. There are factions, of course. The purists believe magic should only be used in life or death situations. The entrepreneurs run underground spell markets. You haven't lived until you've seen a back alley wizard haggling over love potions like a Times Square souvenir vendor. Then there are the anarchists, who keep trying to reveal magic to the world through increasingly ridiculous stunts. Last month they enchanted the Statue of Liberty to wink at tourists. The cleanup team worked overtime spreading conspiracy theories about holograms and government tech demos. The real question isn't why magic is secret, it's how the secret has lasted this long in an era of pocket-sized cameras and TikTok challenges. The answer's equal parts terrifying and hilarious. Magical folks control all major tech companies. Every smartphone has microscopic runes etched into its circuitry that automatically blur or distort magical phenomena. Social media algorithms are tweaked to bury suspicious content under cat videos. That glitch that made your video of a floating light bulb go viral for 0.2 seconds before disappearing. That wasn't a glitch. That was a very annoyed wizard in Silicon Valley hitting the delete button with magical prejudice. What nobody talks about is the toll this secrecy takes. Imagine knowing you could cure your grandmother's Alzheimer's with a touch, but the oath prevents you. Picture watching climate disasters unfold when a coordinated magical effort could mitigate the damage. The weight of all those could but shouldn't moments creates what they call the drowning, a depressive state unique to magic users. The suicide rate among wizards is 3 times higher than the general population. Some say it's the price of power. Others whisper it's why so many turn to the darker arts. Now, let's talk about the dark side of this hidden magical world. Because where there's power, there's corruption, and magic is no exception. There's a black market for spells so dangerous they make nuclear weapons look like firecrackers. Want to erase someone's entire existence from history? That'll cost you a few million and a piece of your soul, literally. The going rate for a memory-wiping hex is about the same as a luxury car, and trust me, the magical IRS is way scarier than the regular one. The most infamous group of rogue magic users calls themselves the Unbound. They're like the magical mafia, but with fewer pinstripe suits and more glowing runes. They specialize in illegal enchantments, cursed artifacts, forbidden love spells, and the occasional haunted house scam. Their motto: no rules, just results. They're the reason your ex's new partner suddenly developed an inexplicable fear of squirrels. Yes, that was a hex. No, you're not getting your money back. But it's not just about petty revenge. The Unbound have their fingers in every pie, from politics to pharmaceuticals. There's a rumor they once enchanted an entire election ballot box to spit out only their preferred candidate's name. When questioned, the ballots just started singing show tunes until everyone gave up. The magical authorities spent weeks unraveling that mess, and to this day, no one's sure how deep the corruption goes. Then there are the rogue scientists. Yes, magical scientists. These are the folks who decided combining quantum physics with ancient runes was a good idea. Spoiler: it wasn't. One of their experiments accidentally created a sentient black hole that demanded to be called Kevin, and refused to stop eating socks. Another time, they tried to clone a dragon and ended up with a creature that looked like a lizard but acted like a cat. It spent its entire life knocking things off shelves and judging everyone. The magical justice system is a bizarre mix of medieval rituals and modern bureaucracy. Trials are held in secret locations, often underwater or in pocket dimensions. The accused are judged by a council of elders who can literally see into their souls. Punishments range from having your magic temporarily sealed to being turned into a toad for a decade. The worst offenders are sent to the Void, a magical prison where time doesn't exist, and inmates are left to relive their worst memories on loop. It's like eternal detention, but with more existential dread. What's truly unsettling is how much of this dark magic leaks into the non-magical world without us realizing it. That cursed painting in your aunt's attic. Probably a failed Unbound experiment. The inexplicable string of bad luck your friend's been having. Someone definitely cast a jinx. Even the rise of certain viral trends. Remember the planking craze was rumored to be the result of a bored wizard messing with human behavior. The magical authorities have a special task force dedicated to cleaning up these messes. They're called the Veil, and they're basically the magical version of Ghostbusters. Their job is to erase evidence of magic from the non-magical world, whether it's a cursed object or a viral video of a levitating toddler. They're overworked, underpaid, and constantly dealing with the fallout of other people's bad decisions. Imagine spending your career explaining why a haunted toaster isn't a government conspiracy. But here's the kicker. Even with all this corruption and chaos, the magical world is still better at keeping secrets than any human government. They've managed to hide their existence for centuries, despite the occasional slip-up. It's a testament to their ingenuity, and our collective ability to ignore the obvious. Because if magic were real, surely we'd know about it, right? Right? Let's shift gears and talk about the everyday lives of these secret magic users. You might think they're living in some enchanted castle or hidden magical city, but the truth is far more mundane. Most of them live right next door to you, blending in perfectly with the non-magical crowd. That quiet librarian who always knows exactly which book you need. Probably a mind reader. The barista who makes your latte art look like a masterpiece. Likely using a bit of telekinesis. Their homes, though, are where things get interesting. From the outside, they look like ordinary houses, but step inside, and you'll find rooms that defy the laws of physics. Living rooms with ceilings that stretch into infinity, kitchens where the appliances clean themselves, and bathrooms that always smell like a fresh forest no matter how many teenagers live there. The best part, their closets are enchanted to always have the perfect outfit, no matter the occasion. Forget Marie Kondo. Magical folks have been living the minimalist dream for centuries. But it's not all enchanted bliss. Magic comes with its own set of domestic challenges. Imagine trying to discipline a toddler who can turn their broccoli into chocolate with a wave of their hand. Or dealing with a moody teenager who keeps accidentally summoning thunderstorms every time they slam their bedroom door. Even something as simple as doing the laundry can go wrong when your socks decide they'd rather be birds and fly away. Then there's the issue of pets. Magical families often have creatures that make your average dog or cat look boring. Think winged cats, fire-breathing goldfish, and miniature dragons that double as space heaters. These pets are usually well-behaved, but every now and then, they'll cause chaos just for fun. There's a reason why magical homeowners insurance is so expensive. You never know when your pet phoenix might decide to redecorate your living room with a well-placed fireball. Social gatherings in the magical world are a spectacle in themselves. Forget boring dinner parties. Magical folks throw events that would make your wildest dreams look tame. Imagine a backyard barbecue where the burgers flip themselves, the drinks never run out, and the music is provided by a band of enchanted instruments. The kids play games like hide and seek in a pocket dimension, or tag with invisible boundaries, while the adults debate the ethics of using time travel spells to redo embarrassing moments. But even in this magical utopia, there's drama. Magical families have their own version of keeping up with the Joneses, except it's more like keeping up with the Merlins. Who has the most impressive enchanted garden? Whose kids are the best at controlling their powers? And let's not even get started on the gossip. When you can read minds, secrets don't stay secret for long. The magical grapevine is faster than any social media platform, and twice as vicious. Despite all the perks, life as a secret magic user isn't all rainbows and unicorns. There's a constant pressure to keep their powers hidden, to blend in with the non-magical world. It's a delicate balancing act, and not everyone can handle it. Some crack under the pressure, using their magic recklessly and risking exposure. Others withdraw, isolating themselves from both magical and non-magical communities. It's a lonely existence, knowing you're different but having to pretend you're just like everyone else. And then there's the fear of discovery. What if someone finds out? What if their magic is exposed to the world? The consequences could be catastrophic, not just for them, but for the entire magical community. It's a heavy burden to carry, knowing that one slip-up could change everything. So they live in the shadows, using their powers sparingly, always on edge, always watching their backs. But amidst all the secrecy and fear, there's also a sense of camaraderie. Magical folks look out for each other, forming tight-knit communities that span the globe. They have their own traditions, their own holidays, their own ways of celebrating the magic that binds them together. It's a hidden world, but it's also a vibrant one, full of wonder and possibility. So the next time you see something inexplicable, a door that seems to open by itself, a shadow that moves in the wrong direction, a bird that looks a little too much like a dragon, don't dismiss it. Because in a world where magic is real but only a few know about it, the extraordinary is always just a step away from the ordinary. Now, let's dive into the economics of this hidden magical world. You might think magic would make everyone rich, but it's not that simple. Sure, there are ways to conjure gold or create valuable artifacts, but the magical economy is far more complex, and far more regulated. The International Magical Monetary Fund ensures that no one disrupts the global economy by flooding the market with enchanted goods. Try selling a self-replenishing wallet, and you'll find yourself in a meeting with some very serious wizards explaining why that's a bad idea. The primary currency in the magical world is called the lumina. It's not a physical coin or bill but rather a glowing orb of energy that can be stored in enchanted containers. Each lumina is imbued with a unique magical signature to prevent counterfeiting. The exchange rate between luminos and regular currency fluctuates wildly, depending on the whims of the magical stock market. Yes, there's a magical stock market, and it's even more unpredictable than the real one. One day, shares in a potion company might skyrocket because someone invented a cure for the common cold. The next day, they could crash because a rogue alchemist accidentally turned their entire inventory into sentient jelly. Jobs in the magical world are as varied as they are bizarre. There are spell auditors who make sure no one's using unauthorized magic in their business. Enchantment inspectors check that every enchanted item sold meets safety standards, because no one wants a flying broomstick that suddenly stops working mid-flight. Then there are magical historians who document the secret history of the world, often risking their lives to uncover ancient spells or cursed artifacts. And let's not forget the magical pest control experts, who deal with everything from enchanted termites to poltergeists that just won't quit. The black market, however, is where things get really interesting. Want a love potion that actually works? That'll cost you a few luminos and a promise not to tell anyone where you got it. Need a curse removed? Better bring cash, and maybe a sacrificial goat. The black market is a dangerous place, full of shady characters and even shadier deals. But for those who can't afford, or don't trust, the official channels, it's often the only option. One of the biggest industries in the magical world is education. Magic schools exist in hidden locations around the globe, teaching everything from basic spellcasting to advanced alchemy. The curriculum is rigorous, and the dropout rate is high. Not everyone can handle the pressure of learning to control their powers, especially when a single mistake could turn their professor into a toad. Graduates often go on to prestigious careers in magical research, law enforcement, or even politics. But for every successful graduate, there's someone who flunked out and now works as a street performer, using their magic to entertain tourists. Then there's the issue of magical real estate. Properties in the magical world are often hidden in plain sight, protected by spells that make them invisible or unremarkable to non-magical folks. A dilapidated shack might actually be a sprawling mansion on the inside, complete with enchanted gardens and a self-cleaning pool. But magical real estate isn't cheap. The best properties can cost millions of luminos. And even if you can afford it, you'll need to pass a background check and swear an oath not to use the property for any illegal activities. Transportation in the magical world is another fascinating topic. While most magical folks use enchanted vehicles, like flying cars or teleportation portals, there are strict rules about where and how they can be used. Accidentally teleport into a non-magical area, and you'll be fined more luminos than you can count. Flying cars must be invisible to non-magical eyes, and even then, they're subject to speed limits and no-fly zones. The magical DMV is notoriously strict, and failing their tests can result in having your license revoked, or worse, your magic temporarily sealed. Despite all these regulations, there's still plenty of room for innovation. Magical entrepreneurs are constantly coming up with new products and services, from enchanted smartphones that never run out of battery to self-cleaning houses that double as personal assistants. But with innovation comes risk, and not every idea is a winner. Remember the guy who tried to sell enchanted shoes that let you walk on water? Great idea, until people started sinking in the middle of the ocean. So while magic might seem like a shortcut to wealth and success, the reality is far more complicated. The magical economy is a delicate balance of innovation and regulation, where one wrong move could spell disaster. But for those who can navigate its complexities, the rewards are well worth the risk. After all, in a world where magic is real, anything is possible, as long as you're willing to pay the price. Let's talk about the politics of the magical world. Yes, even in a realm where people can turn invisible and summon storms with a flick of their wrist, there's bureaucracy. The magical government is a labyrinth of councils, committees, and departments, each with its own agenda and set of rules. At the top is the Grand Assembly, a group of the most powerful and influential magic users who make decisions that affect the entire community. Think of them as the magical UN, but with more robes and fewer translators. Elections in the magical world are a spectacle in themselves. Candidates don't just give speeches, they perform elaborate displays of magic to win over voters. One might conjure a flock of glowing doves, while another creates a fountain that spouts liquid gold. It's less about policies and more about who can put on the best show. Campaign promises often include things like, "I'll lower the cost of Lumina," or, "I'll make teleportation licenses easier to obtain." But just like in the non-magical world, not all promises are kept. The biggest political issue in the magical world is secrecy. How far should they go to keep magic hidden? Some argue for stricter regulations, while others believe it's time to reveal magic to the non-magical world. The debate is heated, with both sides presenting compelling arguments. The secrecy advocates point to the chaos that would ensue if magic were exposed. Imagine the panic if people found out their neighbor could read their thoughts. The reveal advocates, on the other hand, argue that keeping magic hidden is unethical, especially when it could be used to solve global problems like hunger and disease. Then there's the issue of magical law enforcement. The Magical Enforcement Agency, or MAEA, is responsible for keeping the peace and enforcing the rules. They're like the magical FBI, but with more wands and fewer suits. Their job is to track down rogue magic users, investigate magical crimes, and ensure that no one's using their powers for nefarious purposes. It's a tough job, and the MAEA agents are some of the most skilled and respected individuals in the magical world. But even the MAEA has its challenges. Magic is a powerful tool, and it's not always easy to catch someone who can teleport or cast illusions. There's also the issue of jurisdiction. When a crime involves both magical and non-magical individuals, things can get complicated. The MAEA often has to work with non-magical law enforcement agencies, which can be a delicate dance. Imagine explaining to a regular police officer that the suspect they're chasing can turn invisible and summon fireballs. Corruption is another problem in the magical political world. Just like in the non-magical world, there are those who use their power for personal gain. Some politicians accept bribes in the form of luminos or enchanted artifacts. Others use their influence to push through laws that benefit them and their allies. There have been scandals involving everything from rigged elections to illegal spellcasting. The magical media, yes, there's a magical media, loves to expose these scandals, often with a dramatic flair that would make any tabloid journalist jealous. International relations in the magical world are just as complex as in the non-magical one. Different countries have different magical traditions and laws, and navigating these differences can be tricky. There are treaties and alliances, but also rivalries and conflicts. The International Confederation of Magic, or ICM, works to maintain peace and cooperation, but it's not always successful. There have been magical wars in the past, though they're kept secret from the non-magical world. The last major conflict, the Great Spell War, ended with a truce that's still holding, for now. One of the most controversial issues in magical politics is the use of magic in non-magical conflicts. Should magical folks intervene in wars or disasters? Some argue that it's their duty to help, while others believe it's too risky. There have been instances where magic users have secretly aided in non-magical conflicts, but these actions are always kept under wraps. The fear is that if non-magical governments found out about magic, they would try to exploit it for their own gain. Despite all the challenges, the magical political world is a fascinating and dynamic place. It's a world where power and influence are wielded in ways that are both familiar and utterly alien. And while it may be hidden from the non-magical world, its impact is felt in ways that are often unseen but always significant. So the next time you hear about a political scandal or a heated debate, remember that there's a whole other world of politics happening just out of sight, and it's just as messy, complicated, and intriguing as our own. Behind the curtain of everyday spells and political intrigue lies magic's greatest taboo, time manipulation. While most magical abilities are regulated but permitted, chronomancy remains strictly forbidden. The Temporal Enforcement Division maintains a constant vigil, their agents scattered across history like invisible stitches holding time's fabric together. We call them clockwatchers, grim-faced wizards who spend their lives erasing paradoxes before they unravel reality itself. The problem with time magic is simple: every change creates ripples. A witch in 17th century Salem once tried to prevent her own trial by going back 3 days to burn the accusation papers. She succeeded. The resulting timeline produced a world where magic was discovered in 1692, leading to a witch-ruled dystopia the clockwatchers spent 6 centuries entangling. Now temporal law states you can observe history, but never alter it. There are viewing chambers hidden beneath major libraries where approved historians can watch past events unfold like supernatural documentaries. Of course, where there are rules, there are rebels. Temporal anarchists believe history should be fluid, constantly edited for the greater good. Their underground network trades in stolen moments, pockets of altered time smuggled like contraband. The most dangerous of these are called time splinters, fragments of rewritten reality that occasionally surface in our world as déjà vu or Mandela effects. That childhood memory of a cartoon episode that doesn't exist. Probably a chrono smuggler's botched experiment. The most fascinating aspect is how time magic bleeds into the present. Ever met someone who seems to know tomorrow's news today? Might be a precog. Those rare individuals who perceive time non-linearly. The stock market is full of them, though the financial regulatory bodies have whole departments dedicated to catching these temporal cheats. Then there are the echo people, those who somehow remember events from erased timelines. Most think they're just conspiracy theorists, until they start describing historical details that never officially happened, but feel unsettlingly familiar. Time's greatest secret is the archive, a vast, interdimensional library containing every possible version of history. Protected by the ancient order of Mnemosyne, its keepers walk through historical events like ghosts, recording outcomes without interfering. Legend says deep in the archive's heart lies the original timeline, our reality's first draft before any magical meddling began. What horrors or wonders it might contain, no living soul knows. Even mentioning the archive to unauthorized persons carries severe punishment, the kind where they don't just wipe your memory, but the memory of everyone who's ever met you. Temporal magic's most heartbreaking restriction involves personal timelines. While strictly forbidden, some desperate souls still seek out black market chronomancers to fix past mistakes. The price is always higher than they expect. One man paid to prevent his wife's car accident, only to return to a present where she died years earlier from an illness she'd originally avoided by being in the hospital post-crash. The clockwatchers found him trying to undo his undo, trapped in an endless loop of grief. What few realize is that we're all constantly rewriting time on a micro scale. Every choice creates new branches, most too small to matter. But when enough people remember things differently, when collective déjà vu becomes overwhelming, that's when the clockwatchers come knocking. Their signature calling card, every clock in your home suddenly gaining exactly 3.7 seconds. It's their way of saying, we fixed it, without admitting anything was broken to begin with. So the next time you swear something happened differently, or meet someone who feels oddly familiar, or experience that nagging sense the world has subtly shifted, maybe it has. And maybe, just maybe, some harried temporal agent is right now unraveling a paradox to keep your reality intact. All while hoping you'll dismiss that strange feeling as imagination, because the alternative would mean acknowledging that time itself is far more fragile than anyone wants to admit. Now let's explore the darker corners of the magical world, the forbidden arts. Every society has its taboos, and for magic users, that line is drawn at necromancy, blood magic, and soul manipulation. These practices are not just illegal, they're considered abominations, the kind of stuff that gets you exiled faster than you can say, eternal damnation. But, as with all forbidden things, there's a thriving underground market for those willing to risk it. Necromancy, the art of raising the dead, is perhaps the most reviled. The idea of bringing someone back from the grave might sound noble, until you realize the cost. The resurrected aren't the same as they were in life. They're hollow shells, driven by the necromancer's will, with no memory of who they once were. And the process itself is gruesome, requiring rare ingredients like moonlight harvested during a solar eclipse or the tears of a dying phoenix. The most infamous necromancer, known only as the Bone Weaver, was said to have created an army of undead servants before being hunted down and sealed in a tomb that's now guarded 24/7 by the most paranoid wizards in existence. Blood magic is another dark art, though slightly less taboo than necromancy. It involves using one's own blood, or, more controversially, the blood of others, to power spells. The results can be devastatingly powerful, but the cost is steep. Blood magic drains the user's life force, often leaving them weakened or even permanently damaged. There's a reason it's called the magic of last resort. Stories of blood mages who sacrificed entire villages for a single spell are common cautionary tales in magical communities. The practice is so dangerous that even mentioning it in polite company is enough to get you blacklisted from most magical gatherings. Then there's soul manipulation, the darkest of the dark arts. This involves tampering with the very essence of a person, their soul. It's used to create soul-bound objects, where a person's soul is trapped in an item to give it power. These objects are incredibly rare and incredibly dangerous. A soul-bound sword might never miss its target, but at what cost? The soul trapped within suffers eternally, unable to move on or find peace. The creation of such items is punishable by eternal imprisonment in the void, a fate worse than death. But why, you might ask, would anyone risk everything to practice these forbidden arts? The answer is simple: power. For some, the allure of ultimate control is too great to resist. For others, it's desperation, a last-ditch effort to save a loved one or achieve a seemingly impossible goal. And then there are those who are simply drawn to the darkness, unable to resist its pull. The magical authorities have a special task force dedicated to hunting down practitioners of the forbidden arts. Known as the Veil, they're the magical equivalent of a SWAT team, equipped with spells and artifacts designed to counter even the most powerful dark magic. Their methods are ruthless, and their reputation is fearsome. Cross them, and you'll wish you'd never been born. Despite the risks, the forbidden arts continue to thrive in the shadows. There are secret societies, hidden rituals, and black markets where the desperate and the depraved can find what they're looking for. It's a dangerous game, one that often ends in tragedy. But for those who walk this path, the promise of power is worth the risk. So the next time you hear a story about a haunted artifact or a cursed village, remember, there's a grain of truth in every legend. And in a world where magic is real, the line between light and dark is thinner than you might think. But don't worry, as long as you stay on the right side of that line, you'll be fine. Probably. Let's pull back the curtain on how magic manages to stay hidden in our hyper-connected digital age. You might think smartphones and surveillance would have exposed the magical world by now, but the truth is more clever, and more unsettling. The magical community didn't fight technology, they co-opted it. Every major tech company has a secret magical division working tirelessly to cover their tracks. That glitch that made your phone delete that weird video you took. Not a glitch. That autocorrect that changed floating book to flying hook. Definitely not an accident. The real genius is in the algorithms. Social media platforms use enchanted machine learning to detect and suppress magical content before it goes viral. Photos get subtly altered. Videos gain convenient, explainable, blur effects, and eyewitness accounts get buried under memes and celebrity gossip. The system is so refined that most people automatically dismiss magical phenomena as camera tricks or hoaxes without magical intervention even being necessary. Our own skepticism does their work for them. Some tech innovations were actually stolen from magical prototypes. Facial recognition, originally developed to identify disguised wizards. Augmented reality, a pale imitation of magical vision spells. Even blockchain technology resembles an ancient warding system used to protect magical contracts. The difference is that non-magical versions always lack the crucial components that made the magical versions truly revolutionary, usually because those components would reveal too much about how magic works. The magical internet is something else entirely. Called the Weave, it exists as a hidden layer atop our regular internet, accessible only through enchanted devices or spells. Here, magical folks discuss spell recipes, share news, and argue about magical politics without worrying about exposure. The Weave makes the dark web look like child's play. It has entire black market dimensions, forbidden knowledge libraries, and even magical streaming services featuring performances from parallel realities. But the system isn't perfect. Every so often, something slips through. A video that goes viral before it can be suppressed, a magical artifact that ends up on eBay, or worse, a rogue wizard who decides to livestream their spellcasting. When this happens, the magical equivalent of IT guys spring into action. They're called cleaners, and their job is to fabricate plausible explanations while discreetly modifying memories when necessary. Their most common tools include that was just CGI, spells and mass gaslighting, hexes that make entire communities doubt what they saw. The biggest threat to the secrecy system isn't technology though, it's children. Young magic users who haven't learned control often accidentally document their powers. One famous incident involved a 6-year-old who kept posting videos of her toys moving by themselves. The cleaners had to stage an elaborate hoax involving hidden strings and a confessional video from a fictional, prankster uncle. The operation required 12 memory modifications and 3 fake news articles debunking the event. Perhaps the most chilling realization is how deeply magic has infiltrated our information systems. Those fact checks, unquestionable posts. Sometimes they're covering magical truths. Those inexplicable changes to Wikipedia entries. Often corrections made by magical historians. Even your search results are secretly curated to steer you away from magical concepts. Try searching for real magic long enough, and you'll eventually hit a digital wall, pages that won't load, links that redirect, and an algorithm suddenly very interested in showing you stage magic tutorials instead. So the next time your phone does something inexplicable, or you see something online that defies belief, ask yourself, was that really a glitch? Or is the system working exactly as intended, gently guiding your attention away from the impossible truth hiding in plain sight? The scary part isn't that magic is real, it's how effortlessly we're convinced it's not. Now, let's wrap this up by imagining what would happen if the secret of magic were ever revealed. Picture this. One day, a video surfaces that can't be explained away, a clear, undeniable display of magic. Maybe it's a wizard accidentally teleporting during a live broadcast, or a child summoning a storm in the middle of a crowded park. The video goes viral, and suddenly, the world knows. Magic is real. The initial reaction would be chaos, of course. People would panic, demand answers, and try to exploit magic for their own gain. Governments would scramble to regulate it, while corporations would race to monetize it. The magical community would be thrust into the spotlight, forced to defend their centuries of secrecy. It would be a global reckoning, one that could change the course of human history. But here's the thing. Magic has always been a part of our world, just hidden. If the secret were ever revealed, it wouldn't be the end of the world, it would be the beginning of a new one. Imagine the possibilities. Magic used to cure diseases, solve environmental crises, and bring people together. It could be a force for good, if we let it. Of course, there would be challenges. Not everyone would use magic responsibly, and the balance of power would shift in unpredictable ways. But isn't that true of any major discovery? The key would be learning to adapt, to find a way to integrate magic into our lives without losing sight of what makes us human. So, what if magic was real but only a few knew about it? What if that secret were revealed? Would it bring us closer together, or tear us apart? The answer, as always, lies in how we choose to use it. And with that, we've reached the end of today's episode. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of hidden magic, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to What If Horizons for more mind-bending explorations of alternate realities. Your support helps us keep imagining the impossible. Until next time, keep questioning, keep wondering, and who knows, maybe you'll stumble upon a little magic of your own.